Good morning, everyone. Asha here from DayZ. Today, I'm going to be planting out some native shrubs into my landscape. I do have several already growing, and I'm going to take you around and show you exactly what natives grow here. But I wanted to add some more that I don't already have in my garden. The first one I want to talk about is the Grow Low Dwarf Fragrant Sumac, which is this plant right here. It does get a beautiful fall color, and I've been to the mountains and seen this growing wild in eastern Arizona in the higher elevation. So let's see. The bloom time, it blooms in mid-spring. The size of this will get about 2 to 3 feet tall, and it gets really wide, 6 to 8 feet wide. So this will be nice, and I believe it spreads through runners, or it does propagate itself. So if it does that, I will definitely spread it through my garden, dig it up and spread it through my garden. Now the spacing is 5 to 8 feet apart. You can do a low hedge. It's not a tall like screening hedge, but you can do a low hedge of sumac. And the exposure is full sun to part shade. So it's pretty versatile in where you can put it. Soil that it prefers is well draining soil, and its water needs are low to moderate. And you can fertilize this with a slow release fertilizer. But like I said, it is native to the area. So besides watering it, it shouldn't take too much care. But if I do want it to grow faster, then obviously I'll take better care of it. The next one that we're going to talk about is the curly leaf mountain mahogany. Native plants are not cheap if you buy them at a nursery, which I did. This was $20, but I looked in the pot to see there was actually more than one growing here, so I can probably separate these two, and that way I'd only paid $10 per plant, where the sumac was $39.99, so 40 bucks for that. And the currant, I think, was $30. But we'll talk about that later. Yeah, it was $30. Okay, this plant, okay, I had to get my garden glasses. This is teeny tiny print. So it's a dryland compact shrub, variable in form, with aromatic, leathery, curled leaves. Inconspicuous flowers become silver-haired seed plumes. It kind of reminds me, as far as the plumes go, there's the Apache plume, which is similar, in my opinion, to the saltbush. Kind of has the same look, but it gets these pink plumes on it after it gets the white flowers. I was going to purchase one of those, and it was 20 bucks too. But I have a little tiny patch growing in the back part of my property, so I'm probably going to dig that up and transplant it into my garden, because I have none growing in my garden. I don't know, I have plenty of saltbush, but no Apache plume. So the bloom time for this is in spring. It grows about 8 to 14 feet tall. How is that compact? It says compact shrub. 8 to 14 is not compact, in my opinion, by 6 to 10 feet wide. So this little plant right here gets that big. Wow. Okay, it's great in dry gardens as a screen, in bird gardens and or banks for stabilization. So that's good to know. And I will definitely propagate this plant too, so I can have more. Hopefully it spreads so I can dig that up. The exposure for this is full sun. The water needs are low, and hardiness 3 to 8. This next plant unfortunately does not have a plant tag, but this is a golden currant, and I've seen this growing in the woods when I've been hiking. I did try to propagate this once before, but it didn't do well. So I'm glad to have it in a big pot, even though it was $30. It's weird that they want to charge so much for natives, but I get it because they do well in our situations. And this one, this golden currant, I think gets, it can get 6 to 8 feet tall, and it can get pretty wide. It's a proper shrub. I'm going to put this in my perennial vegetable garden to add to the other perennials that I have growing that come back year after year. And I think I have a perfect place for this sumac. My next project that I'm going to be working on that I'm excited about is actually turning my old laundry room into a potting / garden shed. I still need to remove the washing machine. I'm going to remove this platform as well. And then a potting bench is going to go in here. So this is going to be all removed. And the solar has to be moved against the wall. But hopefully I can get that done in the next video. Here is my perennial vegetable garden. Sometimes I plant annuals, like I have tomatoes over there and peppers at the end, along with a tomatillo. This is my asparagus patch here. I have a voluntary sunflower. This is an apple tree. I believe the variety is a Gala, and there's another one over here. Then I have an almond tree there, along with my goji berry and gooseberries. So I think right here in this empty spot, I'm going to plant this yellow currant. That should give it plenty of space to get nice and full. This is my patch of rhubarb. And since that plant just flowered and died off, it's starting to come back. This one is just now flowering. So I'm going to cut back most of this before it starts to leaf out too much. Dig it up also, and I want to spread this throughout the garden. I think I'm going to put another one here right next to the golden currant. Depending on how much I can harvest from the root, I will spread it through the garden as well in empty spots. Now, as far as this sumac goes, I'm going to plant it over here in my test garden. Hey, Paul. And it's going to go right there where I had a bush die off. I've covered these 3 plants because I knew actually that rabbits like to eat on my yarrow. So I decided to put this little basket over it, just like I did for the penstemon, and now the same thing for the black-eyed Susans down there. Something came and ate the whole patch. There's nothing left. I hope it grows back, but it's possible it won't. But yeah, I think the sumac will look nice there. Since the mountain mahogany gets so big, I was thinking about flanking it on each side of this pathway. Since I already have a dead plant there and a dead plant over here, and the drip is run to this, I would just have to add the emitters in. So I think that's what I'm gonna do, plant one on each side. And I need to eventually replace this tree here, but I haven't decided on what I want to replace it with. And also that bush, I think I'm just going to pull it out and not worry about planting anything just yet. So we only have a couple shrubs that grow here on the property that are natives. So I'll show you those now. These big bushes that you see here are the salt bush. And I do not have to do anything to these. I don't even have to put them on drip. They obviously, their roots spread the bigger they get. And I think they get supplement water from other plants that are in the area, because they are doing good. I actually need to probably cut them back. I can do that after planting because they're starting to encroach on the walkways and it's getting harder and harder to come through. But this is a salt bush as well. Another native plant to this area is the fern bush. I added this last year. It has beautiful little tiny flowers that bloom, and it's very drought tolerant and does well here. And it's looking pretty good, being it's not quite a year old. I have another one right there too, and I planted those at the end of last season. That plant that you see back there is a native, and it is the desert barberry. I thought it was a holly when I first saw it because it has pokey leaves like a holly, but it's not. I looked it up and did research, and it is the desert barberry, which has beautiful yellow blooms some parts of the season, and also it gets these nice berries that I think birds use. That's a pretty big one there. We have another one right there. You see how big they get? They can get tall too. Look at this one. I had like limbed it up, and it's almost a small tree growing into the juniper. The trunks are pretty hefty. So this one must be pretty old because we have this. These are 2 more native plants that I can talk about. They're not really shrubs. But... And there's also, like I had mentioned, the Apache plume, which I'm going to go dig up later. And then I'll show you that and we'll try to figure out a spot for it in the garden. Since these get so big, they just kind of sprout up everywhere. But I'm thinking that I'm going to start reducing some of them because they're taking over. They look good in certain spots, but they're taking over. Like I have that apple tree there, and it did give it some protection when it was younger. But I'm thinking either I'm going to cut back the one right behind it and leave the two on each side. Just rip that out. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe just trim it back because it's starting to grow into the tree. Same with this one. I thought to leave this one, but they get so big. I'm unsure if I should. I guess I could just keep it hedged. There's one more plant that I want to show you. And there's the globe mallow. Now, when it finds a spot that it really likes, as you can see here, it gets almost as big as a shrub. This one is a pretty tall and bushy plant. Now, normally they don't always get this big, but like I said, if they like their spot, then they can get to the size of a shrub, and they start getting a bit woody. And they come back year after year. They do die off to the ground in the winter, but it's a beautiful plant. If I could get more I would definitely like love their spot and be more of a shrub. Oh yeah, I almost forgot that we have this potentilla here, which is native to this area. It grows in the mountains over there. I've seen it, a huge patch when I was hiking one year, but for some reason it's always kind of struggled. I don't know if it just doesn't have good drainage. It just hasn't done good, so I haven't tried to plant more of this. That cactus that I showed you over there, this is what it looks like when it gets bigger or full grown. And I mean, it's almost as big as a shrub. I would say a small shrub. So I found it out in the middle of my property, and I just put it here in the garden. And this was transplanted. We don't have a lot of cactus that grows here, but there are two. The one I showed you, which is part of the cholla, and then this is the prickly pear. This one I just transplanted this season. It's doing pretty well. I found it also out in my property. There's several out there, so I could transplant the rest of them. They do better in the garden, obviously, because I do take care of them. There's another cactus transplant. I don't think this one does as well because it's in a very shaded location. So eventually I just might move this out of here to a sunnier location. I have another prickly pear, same situation. It never really got that big because it's in a shady location. This is another yucca here, and it is native to our area. I actually saw this in the native plant section of the nursery, and they were wanting 20 bucks for this. I got this plant from my friend. So what I'm probably gonna do, because it just spreads and gets little pups and just gets bigger and bigger, I'm going to probably dig this up and split it and put it in different places in the garden. Well, I think that covers it for the native plants that I'm gonna add or already have in my garden. If I notice anything else, I'll definitely show you. But let's go ahead and get to planting. I see another plant back here that I want to talk about. This is an arona berry, and it looks like it's got chlorosis. I was thinking about moving this. The plant behind it, I believe, is a wolfberry. I've never messed with them or given them supplement water. I think if I was to actually give it water, it would do better. I've seen some of these more full grown, and they're actually pretty interesting looking shrubs. So we'll see. Weeds, weeds. The compost bins are about full, and I've got this big pile here. I'm going to take that wood chipper and chip it all down, but that'll be for a different video. I was able to get almost everything planted besides one bush, which is the mountain mahogany. Besides weeding, which took me most of the day, I was able to get the golden currant planted here. And then also I split this rhubarb and divided the roots. I got one here. I think I planted one here. I can't remember. Crap. There's one there. And then there's two in this row here. I think I have one there and one right there. But yeah, that looks so much better cleaned up. There's still some grass. It was kind of hard to pull out because it's kind of woven into the fencing. So was this salt bush, but I got most of it out. And I was able to clean up this garden bed here. I still haven't planted in it, and I still need to amend it. So definitely a later project. Oh, there goes a lizard. But yeah, all the pathways have been weeded. I didn't weed this because this is a coyote melon, and it was a volunteer. Although I did have the seeds, and I think a few seeds dropped. It didn't just grow here naturally. My friend and neighbor brought it back, and I'm glad to see it growing. So we'll leave that there. The only bed left to weed is this one, but I'll get to that in a later video. I haven't done much with it this season. Yeah, I still need to plant you. And I forgot to mention, I did get another rose bush. This is the one that was on sale. It was the last one. So I grabbed this one. I'm thinking about adding it to this garden bed. I already have one there, but I had a yarrow that died off. So I wouldn't mind replacing that with the rose bush. Besides weeding this whole garden bed and amending each plant, I finished with that. I put the sumac right there. That should definitely fill out that space since it gets so big. More weeds that I need to dump on the compost pile. Right now, I'm going to go ahead and dig up the Apache plume shrub. That's at the end of my property. And then see if I can find anything else. I'll definitely need my shovel. And also a pot. I thought this was the Apache plume, but the leaves look different. It does have the little white flowers. I don't think this is the one, but I still will dig it up. At least there's a whole patch here. Goes back there. I just grabbed two for now, and we'll see how they do. I can always harvest more since there's a pretty big patch. I'm going to end up cutting all the foliage off and just plant the root. I just remembered when we were hiking the other day, Jeff saw another plant, and it was on the front part or the front corner of my property. Here it is right here. It's some kind of pine tree. And what grows around here is pinyon pine, but it doesn't really look like it. It could be. It just was nibbled on, so it got bushy like a bush. And yeah, I'm going to go ahead and dig this up and put it in a pot. Awesome. I was able to get the taproot and everything, so that'll be nice. There's quite a few wildflowers popping up, but I already have this in my garden. It's not really a shrub, but I don't have this flower in my garden. It's similar to the other one, but this one looks more like a daisy with the center here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this while I'm out here. I'll definitely cut. I was able to get two. I was able to get two plants, one teeny one and a little larger one. I have seen these get pretty big. But I'm going to cut off all the flowers and foliage. Just leave a little bit and then plant. I got most of the root system. So there is one more plant here. I always see bugs and pollinators on this. But I want to chop this back and dig this up because I don't have this in my garden, and I've seen it gets pretty big. I have one other one by the pond, and it looks healthy, probably because there's moisture there in the ground. I believe I got most of the root, but it's pretty. Looks like a bouquet. I'll definitely cut that back too. I don't know how I forgot to mention this shrub here, but I have tried to transplant one of these before, and it didn't go over too well. I do have about one or two in the garden already, but it kind of reminds me, it is evergreen. I don't know, the way it gets these nice yellow tips, new growth, it just reminds me of a juniper a little bit, but I don't know what the name of this plant is. And throughout the property, there is an abundance of that shrub. Here's an example of how big that white flower can get. So it does look like a small shrub. And I'm sure if given more attention, it could get bigger than this. But this is a healthy one. I'm definitely not going to dig this one up. I'll leave it. Right on the drive is this low-growing plant here. And I've transplanted this before, and it lived for several years, but it died off eventually. Now, I'm going to dig this up because it's right in the drive, like I said, and it looks like it'll probably die if left here. And I haven't seen much of this plant lately, so I definitely want to save it. Here's another example of that one plant that I showed you. I don't know the name, but this one looks pretty healthy. Like I said, I'll definitely cut these down. But yay, another plant to add to my collection. All right, we are back, and I'm going to go ahead and get these cut back and planted in a pot and divide them out mahogany and get it planted. Well, I am finally done. I got these natives in a pot, and I'll probably water these for about 2 weeks or so, and then see if they're ready to go into the ground. I have 2 plants left out of all those. Oh, a weed. Get out of there. Anyways, I have 2 plants left out of all those plants that I purchased previously. I didn't plan on doing as much, but I did. I ended up moving that over here, which was in one of those pots. It started to brown out, and I don't think it was getting enough moisture in that pot, so I put it over here and put something that's a little more drought tolerant. That's a Russian sage. And then also I replaced that dead plant or bush that was in there with the feather grass. I changed my plans on the mountain mahogany. I just looked them up and it said that they can get pretty big. It's called a small shrub, but when I was looking it up, they look like trees like this. So if that grows pretty big, it can kind of create an archway here because I have the other one on this side. So I think that'll be nice here. There's a closer shot of the feathergrass and the Russian sage. Now this one's a compact version and it will not get too big. I think it's 2 to 3 where the other one is 4 to 5. And I went ahead and filled empty spots. I put that plant there and I divided this plant and put little pups in here. So they usually will take. And I put the other grass in my kind of Buddha statue or Buddha head planter. And I think that'll be cute once it gets filled out. So I did put this here. This is the Atlantis stone crop. I took little cuttings from it and just stuck it in the soil to see how it does. If it doesn't do well, then I'll replace it. But if it takes, then that's awesome. Behind it, I have one of my cuttings of the Russian sage in both of those bottom planters. So hopefully that will grow and fill this spot. Then I've got some comfrey here. I'm glad I'm starting to get some stuff done with the sitting area because we haven't been using it as much lately. And it really is a nice place to hang out. Remember you being lazy? Look at you, lazy butt. Well, everybody, it's been a long day in the garden. I did take a break midday because it just got a little too warm. But yeah, I'm ready to go sit down and relax for a while and then take my dog for a walk and then have some dinner. But I want to thank y'all for hanging out with me. Hopefully we'll see you next time. If you want to check out more videos, they'll be over here. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you can do so there. Bye for now. Mwah.